Hello everyone, and welcome to my channel. I'm Lorena Creole, giving you that hot and spicy analysis for sci-fi and pop culture and always keeping it real when it comes to theme parks. And in that vein of keeping it real when it comes to theme parks, my special guest for this episode of the After School Special is Theme Park Casual. How are you doing?
I am doing good, and I gotta start with my usual. Hey, kids!
I love that, man. That's like your catchphrase every time I see you in the chat. It's like, "Hey, kids,"
Yep.
and it's so cool. Is that something you just a catchphrase you just came up with, or if it's just
Uh,
something
I,
you
I
normally
was, I
do?
was always, I always picture it. I'm channeling Mr. Furley, the way he would walk in and, "Hey, kids," and be that smarmy, cheesy
hmm
guy who doesn't belong but trying to fit in.
I just thought it was funny. It's like some certain people from their quote unquote catchphrases when they
Hmm.
drop into the chat. So I remember that one
Yeah.
when you came to you. So of course, I'm excited to have you on the show because you are of a unique group when it comes to Disney. And by that unique group, I mean the theme park commando type when it comes to theme parks. So I'm going to let you actually define what you think theme park commando is.
Okay. For me, the theme park commando is somebody who doesn't go to the parks just to kind of meander about and do whatever, catches their whim at the moment. This is someone who has been planning it for weeks, months. And when they're at the park, you can kind of see them. They've got their, clipboard out or whatever, or I mean, now we're always on our phone, but,
Mm-hmm.
we're analyzing things and debating. Okay, if we go here right now, it's probably going to have about a 40-minute wait. If we go over here and then do this and then this and this, we can probably catch it during the parade, and then it'll be a slightly thing, and we'll see the second parade at this point, and we'll be right here, and then right after the parade we'll jam right over to here, and we'll be in a good spot for the fire. That's a theme park commando, somebody who's go, has things planned out, is always analyzing and trying to figure out the best path, best course for the day, hours ahead of time. I'm the type that, it's like, okay, we're walking to the attraction, I'm already asking, okay, what are we doing next? Because I got to start planning, okay, is that the
Mm-hmm.
right place to be headed after this? So to me, that's what a theme park commando is.
Yeah, that's exactly pretty much just like me. It's like I would have spreadsheets, but before I even did that, it's like I would go get the latest copy of the unofficial guide to Walt Disney World, and I would sit there with like my sticky pad and I just read stuff and make notes and
Yep.
dog ear stuff. And okay, we use this plan for here, this plan for here, and would have the trip crazily planned out in order to get certain things done that I wanted to do, because it's like you miss your window, you don't get this experience, you don't get that experience, and it takes a lot of work to do that. And my family thought that I was absolutely nuts. They thought that I
Hmm.
was crazy. They thought that I was insane until we got to the park. And then they're just like, why is it all going so smoothly? Why are we at the park in the morning, halfway asleep, but we did a whole bunch of stuff and now we can kind of relax and do something else. We come back to eat. And not only do we come back to eat, but we come back to eat in time to watch the fireworks. And we're not in the mosh pit. Just
Yep.
like, how does that work? It's like there's a lot of work that goes into that.
Yeah. Yeah. It's that the joke, if somebody asks, hey, I'm going to be going to Disneyland. Any recommendations? All right, sit down because it's going to be a minute.
I know it's so funny. There's even people now that I work with. If anybody mentions that they're going to Disney, it's like, okay, well, you do know you have three Disneyers on this call. which will tell you what it is that you need to do. They're like, okay, okay, fine. I'll go and talk to them. But a question that people would always ask me, and my sister would kind of ask me jokingly, but she knew why. They're like, "Why are you like this when you're planning Disney trips?" Because I know for me, for my family, I love them to death, but they would be late to a free lunch when I was younger, and we would show up at the park at like, I kid you not, 1 p.m., 2 p.m., and be in line for Space Mountain for like 2 hours or something like that. Maybe ride 4 or 5 rides, maybe be there whole total time there for the fireworks, trying to get out of the parking lot. It was a mess. I mean, I was glad that I was there, but I'm just like, there's got to be a better way, to do
Right.
this. And that's kind of like what kicked it off for me. I started reading things and grabbing like brochures and stuff that would give me like park times and performance times and things. And I'm like, all this information is just out here, and you can
Mhm.
just you can just use it. So for you, what was the moment that turned you into a theme park commando?
Honestly, I think I've just always been like that because I remember being like 6, 7 years old, and our parents, me and my brother, they couldn't tell us that we were going to Disneyland until the day before. Because if they told us, as soon as they told us, we were not watching TV, we weren't out playing with our friends. It was we'd come home from school, we'd get out our big poster map of Disneyland, and we would just start writing down all the
Wow.
things that we were going to do and the order that we were going to do all the different rides, and just staring at the map. And that was literally what I did. I mean, I used to take the pictorial souvenirs and I would copy down the paragraphs, and then I would block out, I'm going to put a picture here of the Tiki Room, and then over here I'm going to put a picture of Thunder Mountain, and I'm going to put a picture of this over here, and I would build my own, basically my own souvenir guide, if you will. So I've always been like that, and that was just with Disneyland. It wasn't even the kind of thing where there's multiple parks or, resort
Hmm.
stuff happening, because we live in, you know, Southern California my whole life. So it was, you didn't really stay at the hotels when you went to Disneyland. We just drove out for the day and then came home.
Hmm.
So I've just always been like that with Disneyland and theme parks, because I even remember when we would go to the restaurants and they'd have all the brochures for all the different tourist attractions. I'd have maps for any theme park that they put in there. I'd have Knott's Berry Farm, Magic Mountain, even, Great America up north in Northern California. And if there was a map of a theme park or even a brochure, I'd grab it
Hmm.
and just pour over it, just to figure out, okay, where are the rides? What angle did they take the picture? Oh, they took the picture right here on the map, it looks like, because, you can see this in the background. And I've just always been like that, and I don't know why. It's a blessing and a curse, but I've just always loved the parks.
Hmm.
So, and then when I met my wife, we were working at the same place, and she had been there for several years. And for her 5-year anniversary, the company gave her a trip to Disney World because they knew she was a big Disney fan.
Hmm.
And when I started, she hadn't used the trip yet, and so we started dating. And I was thinking, are we gonna use that trip yet? Are we gonna go on the trip? And finally, we arranged it, and we had our trip scheduled. And I put together basically a binder for her, saying, okay, here's what we're going to do. We've got 10 days. This is day one. These are the times. I've got us, set for lunch here. We've got dinner here. These are the rides that we should be doing at this point. You got a couple hours in here where you can kind of just pick what you want, but then we're going to be doing this, this, and this. This is day two, and go through it. And then we made sure, I told her, you don't realize that the parks are so much larger than Disneyland. So we're going to have to train for the days that we're at the parks. And she's
Hmm.
like, what? And I was like, no, you don't understand. Going around Epcot, you're going to be probably walking minimum 5 or 6 miles just in Epcot in one day. And that's if you're not, that's if you're tracking properly through the park. So we would go on hikes and we were walking all the time just to train for our trip.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, okay, that's just what I do. There's not a way for me to turn that off. In fact, I find it hilarious. I picked the name Theme Park Casual because I hadn't been, going to Disneyland for a while we had let our passes go. And so I
Mm-hmm.
thought, you know what, next time I go to Disneyland, I'm going to just relax and, take it in. And we went, and it was a nice trip. And I kind of let my son go off and do his thing. And me and my wife just kind of rode Mark Twain and whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But the whole time I'm trying to relax, and all I'm thinking is, where are we going next? Let me check the wait times for Thunder Mountain. Maybe we could do Thunder Mountain. Oh, maybe Mr. Toad. We'll do Mr. Toad.
Mm-hmm.
And I just can't get it out of me that I've got to go when I'm at the parks. And so Theme Park Casual, it's kind of a misnomer, if you will. It's almost, an inverse of who I really am.
Yeah, I noticed that a lot. Like when we start talking about theme parks, kind of like when I had first quote unquote met you, and then information started coming about the theme parks. I'm like, this is another commando type
Yeah.
that goes to the parks, kind of like, well, I remember that life. I'm trying not to go back into it,
Yeah.
but there's things that you pull out about it, and I totally get it, because when I would drive my family nuts before we left, but they knew to put up with me, because as soon as they got to the park, stuff just like went. And people would come up to them and they're like, how did you know exactly where to sit? They're like, I don't know. My sister planned a trip. I couldn't tell you. Like, I could tell you how the heck, we wound up doing that. Or, my nieces and nephews would get to do things at the Grand Floridian, like, like the pirate adventure, and the kids would come back from like the pirate adventure and stuff like that. But yeah, I would have binders, spreadsheets, because it is a lot of work. Like I tell people, you're dropping how many thousands of dollars on this trip, but you're not doing, the planning to go and do for it. Like, I know when I first lived in California, because I was out there for about 5 years, lived in LA, and went to Disneyland. I'm thinking, okay, I'm probably not gonna get done this park in one day. Maybe I'm gonna have to pace myself. And then I get there, and everything was I was completely unprepared for how compact everything. I'm like, what do you mean I'm done? I don't I don't understand. What do you mean I'm finished? I'm finished with it. Um, and then they go over to California Adventure. I'm like, okay, I still have time left. I don't quite understand that. But it's a different type of park. When I tell people, when you go to Disneyland, it's like that was the first park. There's so many great historical details that are
Mhm.
there to compare with what's at Walt Disney World. So I try to encourage people always, to try to check out Disneyland, because some people try to compare the two, and I'm just like, yes and no.
Yeah, the similarities are there, but they're two completely different animals. I mean, Disney World was created with a different mindset, and it's one of those things. It's kind of like Knott's Berry Farm. Knott's Berry Farm, you can't duplicate it because it wasn't intended to be a theme park from the get-go. It just kind of
Hmm.
kept growing and growing and kind of morphing into what it is now. So it's not the kind of thing that you can just kind of plop down and say, okay, we're doing another Knott's Berry Farm.
Hmm.
It's too unique, and it came about in a certain way that you can't duplicate it. And Disneyland is kind of that same thing. It's like, it had Walt's fingerprints all over it, and it was done, when they were developing what a theme park even is. They were breaking new ground with technology and different entertainment
Hmm.
devices. So once you get to Disney World, a lot of that had been established, and there were already some lessons learned. So things can be adjusted, and they were done in a manner that already made sense, instead of having to, okay, now we need to adjust a little bit. And which is, what makes the Disneyland experience a little different. Is there's those little things that are kind of like, okay, this is there for a reason because now they
Mm-hmm.
can't get rid of it, you know, or this is done this way because they did it like this at first and then they had to adjust and they couldn't knock down the whole building, so they had to just kind of
Mm-hmm.
maneuver around it. So those are the kind of things that make Disneyland and the older parks unique. And Disney World has the luxury, like I said, they've been able to plan most of it with a lot of experience behind them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, especially when it comes to the Magic Kingdom, which is my favorite park, but it is a absolute pain in the rear end to get to. It is like an epic journey. When I was a kid, I thought that was cool, but as an
Right.
adult, I'm just like, you've got to be kidding me. Why do I have to go through all of this rigmarole to get to the Magic Kingdom? This is absolutely flipping ridiculous. But when you visit Disneyland, how compact it was. We get there, I make a turn, and I'm like, what do you mean the entrance is right
Mm-hmm.
there? And apparently the sprawl that like sprung up around Disneyland, I guess from what I read in Walt's biography, he didn't like that uncontrolled sprawl
Right.
that was happening. And it kind of, well, not kind of, it did, took away from the magic of walking into Disneyland. And I was kind of like, well, what is that really like? And then I went to Disney and I'm like, oh, okay, okay. I see what he's talking about. Because at Walt Disney World, as you know, if you want to go to Magic Kingdom, first you park. And then you have to take either the monorail or the ferry. Well, first of all, if
Right.
the tram is running, because they haven't been running them at all, and frankly, I don't miss them now. The tram that'll take you from the parking lot to, the ticket booth. Then from there, you take either the monorail, if the monorail is running. We'll start talking about this stuff later. If it's
Right.
running, or you get on the ferry boat. Then that takes you to where the Magic Kingdom actually is. Then you have to go through the ticket turnstiles to actually get into the actual park. It's like an epic journey just to get in there, but it was done so that it wouldn't have the same type of sprawl that it did at Disneyland. The only thing is it just pushed it out further out, and that's why 192 in Kissimmee basically looks like, I think it's Catella,
Mm-hmm.
whatever that avenue is, like right
Yeah.
outside of
Yeah. That's
Disneyland. It
Catella.
it, it looks exactly the same.
Yeah. And I know what it was wonderful what they were trying to do, but I think with just the crush of the crowds now, it loses that, mystique of, okay, I'm going to walk onto the ferry boat and the ferry boat's taking me to the Magic Kingdom. Because now you're herded from the cars all the way over to the ferries, and then there's just the crush of people trying to get on the ferries, and then you get off the ferries and there's all the lines. And if it was a pleasant experience, it probably would feel different. It would have that magical, riding, remembering to ride the ferry across, the
Hmm.
lagoon to the Magic Kingdom. But with how crowded it is, it just loses it. And that unfortunately is part of the experience now, the crowds. And
Yeah.
I know they're trying to do what they can, but other than, okay, we're going to charge $500 a day, what do you do?
I agree. It's like if you would have asked me, like, say, when I was in college, it still was that like magical journey. It's like you took the ferry boat just for the experience, not because the lines for the monorail were so long that, and this did happen, that were so long that they were running buses to the Magic Kingdom, literally from the Transportation and
Wow.
Ticket Center. Back when I was in college, you could just, oh, let's ride the ferry because it's something cool and it's different and it wasn't a whole lot of people. And it was just nice to take that, that journey there. Now there's so many people that now instead of getting off the ferry at the bottom level, there's a second gangway that they put, a
Yeah.
second port and a second gangway. So now people can get off at the top level, including the bottom level, because of the amount of people that are there. So crowd wise, let me ask you with respect to Disneyland, how have you found the crowds to be? Since Disneyland is sort of a different park, it's more of like a local park where people
Mhm.
go to, as opposed to Walt Disney World, where they've got pretty much everybody. It's pretty much back to pre Wu Tang flu levels of international travelers coming in. So how were crowd levels at Disneyland that you've observed?
Well, we hadn't been to Disneyland very often since 2012. That was when we let our passes go.
Hmm.
And I think the next time we went after that was 2015. So it had been a few years. And then the next time was 2017. So those were the only two times prior to the pandemic that I had gone. And when you have your one day, it's a rope drop to kiss goodnight kind of a day, 20 hours if need be, that you're
Hmm.
awake from getting up, driving out, being there, and then driving home. Um, but we dealt with the crowds, and they didn't seem unreasonable. We went at Christmas time, I think, both of those times.
Hmm.
So it wasn't unreasonable, but it felt crowded. Since I've gone back post pandemic,
Hmm.
the crowds have been, especially the last couple of times that I've gone, just recently that I've got my magic key again. I would how I've how I've classified them is comfortably festive, meaning there's enough people to feel like there's a lot going on and it's, the place to be. There's a lot, enough people there, but not to the point to where you're just like, if somebody else cuts me off with a stroller, I'm going to kick someone. You're not at that point. And I've been there on New Year's Eve and
Hmm.
4th of July and those. And I still remember I had one New Year's Eve. We were in front of the castle and literally just, I mean, you're just crushed in there. And
Hmm.
then fireworks go off. Everybody does the Happy New Year. And as we were walking out, we're just, everybody crunched in. You're taking tiny little steps. And I had somebody literally back to back with me. She was leaning on me, basically using me as a crutch, leaning backwards on me, talking to her friends, walking backwards, leaning on me. I could not believe it. I was like, when I noticed it, I was like, why? Okay, I'm getting a little extra push here. What's going on? And I turned
Yeah.
and looked, and yeah, I'm seeing somebody else's shoulder literally right here, and she's sitting there talking to her friends. So I go to the person next to me and just slough her off and let her lean on someone else. But that's a New Year's crowd. What
Hmm.
we've been dealing with, I don't think the crowds have been as bad as people usually think of Disneyland being. In fact, I
Hmm.
would say if you spent money on a ticket, you're probably getting your money's worth now. And I don't, I kind of look at that and go, is that where Disney wants it to be?
Mm.
I mean, we saw that the Magic Keys came back for,
Yeah.
was it 18 hours or something like that. They went
Hmm.
on
And then
sale
they shut them off.
and then they shut them off. But now we've already got our Southern California 3-day promotion happening
Hmm.
again. So right after the holidays, they're doing that. So is there an issue where they're not getting quite the attendance that they were expecting?
Hmm.
I don't know. Like I said, it seems like they've got capacity to pull in a few more people and still have it be a worthwhile experience, which is interesting to me because, like I said, I watched it from the early '90s when I could go on a Tuesday and you could
Hmm.
sit in the hub and you'd see maybe 30 people in your field of vision. Now you're not going to, you can't find a clean view like that anywhere. So
Oh.
I've seen it kind of build up, and then, like I said,
Hmm.
we let our passes go, and then it seemed like after that it got really crazy. It's like the pass holders were going, you know, there was too many of them, and it was constant complaining, and it just, you'd always see pictures, and there's just crowds everywhere. So I don't know. For me, right now, Disneyland is a good value if you were buying a day ticket, just because the crowds are not as bad as you would think.
That is interesting because in the inverse at Disney World, It is, like I say, it is, I believe it is literally at pre-pandemic
Wow.
levels, even with these reservations. Now I know when I moved here, it was like I think the tail end of the pandemic, and I'd actually visited in the middle of the pandemic as well. So the crowds were much thinner because they were controlling capacity a lot more. But as soon as Universal removed their restrictions, and then eventually Disney World removed their restrictions, it exploded with regards to crowd level. Now, annual passes have not been on sale since last year. Like I bought mine, and I think about a month, maybe a month, maybe a month. No less than 6 weeks. They shut off selling them, only
Hmm.
selling the least expensive one where you couldn't get in on the weekends, and that was just for Florida residents. And they haven't brought the sales back. And every time I go to the parks, I mean, you've seen the streams that I do. If I go in the morning, it seems kind of comfortable, not, too many people. It's okay. But the further the stream goes on, you just see more and more and more people. And I don't think I did it the last time, but I'll have to show people next time at the Magic Kingdom. The difference between when I walk on a Main Street USA at 9 a.m. and then I'm walking out at 11:30, it's the difference between a couple of people and you turn around and there's a sea of humanity.
Right. Yeah, like I said, it's been weird the couple of times that I've been, and I went the day before Thanksgiving and then the following Tuesday. And the crowd levels, I was expecting the day before Thanksgiving to be just a madhouse.
Hmm.
And we had a wonderful time. There was, crowds, but
Hmm.
it's like you could get on every ride you wanted to. It never got to the point to where I was just like, oh my God, I'm not waiting in that line. And that to me is one of the hallmarks of, a Disney trip. It's I'm not waiting in that one. That one's, way too long. And I never had that. So I don't know what's going on because, like you said, the Florida parks are bursting at the seams,
Hmm.
but Disneyland, it's like I said, it was very comfortable.
I think a lot of it has to do kind of like with the draw for the two parks. And I kind of went over this with Orange Grove 55 and with Dre. I said, with Walt Disney World, it's in the middle of a swamp somewhere. And the way that the Florida population is and with the price point, even back when it opened, from what I understand, from what my relatives were telling me, it was still kind of pricey for Floridians. So you weren't going to get local Floridians to go.
Hmm.
And it wasn't as concentrated a metropolitan area is, kind of like Anaheim. It's completely different. So in order to get people to visit, Walt Disney purposely marketed this park to the northeastern seaboard,
Okay.
Philadelphia, New
Hmm.
York, New England. So our TV station would get blasted regularly with ads for Disney World. There was I-95. They'd finally finished that particular superhighway that went from Cape Cod all the way down to went to Miami, but the I-4 pulled off over so you could go to Orlando. They were purposely marketing that park to have people from the Northeast come down. Then, in addition, marketing it overseas for the Brits mostly to come over, South America for the Brazilian tourists to come over,
Right.
and my favorite, Saudi Arabia. And they would have visitors from Saudi Arabia come over. So it was like and it still is like an international
Hmm.
park. And when there weren't international visitors, and it was, because of the Wu-Tang flu restrictions, the crowd levels were okay. They were all right. But as soon as they started opening it up to, okay, there's more local, well, we'll say US visitors coming from the northeastern seaboard coming in. And then they opened it up and British were coming back, Canadians were coming back, Brazilians were coming back. I think it's just because it's an international destination, Disney World's always going to have that particular capacity problem. And
Hmm.
then with Disneyland, it's so local and it's marketed the way that it's built to be like a local attraction. I think that's where they were kind of like where the differences are there.
Yeah, which makes me wonder, are they, what is it with the magic keys that they've stopped selling them? If
Yeah.
I'm sure they've got the data for it, obviously, but it's like there is a specific number that they can't go past, because the data tells them, okay, once you go past this, you're starting to either clog the system,
Hmm.
or you're going to make it to where you either have to open up more reservations, or you're going to have people complaining that they can't get reservations. So I don't know which one it is exactly, but obviously, yeah, with the three-day Southern California promotion,
Hmm.
they're going after the locals.
We
And
have
and
something. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
no, go
Let me
ahead. I
move
was
it.
going to say that it's obvious that the locals park has to play into this at some point, because they don't open that up to anybody other than Southern California residents, or certain
It,
zip codes or whatever.
yeah.
And it's like, how many people in Arizona and Nevada, would jump on a chance like that to be able to, have the 3 days to be able to shoot over to Disneyland, spend a couple days there, or even a day, and then drive home. There's a lot of people that would probably do that, but for some reason they're keeping them out of it.
Mm. That's interesting because in Florida, they're actually running a 40% off special on tickets for Florida residents to go to Disney World.
Wow, 40% off, huh? Jeez.
40% off during the holidays.
Yeah, I can't remember, because I know the Southern California one. I can't remember exactly what the price is, but I think it breaks down to like $87 a day.
Hmm.
So if in the days that you can go, I don't think you can go on the weekend. So there's, with the different tiers now that they've got all this stuff. They've just made it so complicated. It's insane. But anyways, so with those tiers, you're probably only looking at maybe a 25% discount off the ticket price if you were to do
Hmm.
the individual days. So it's not quite. I don't think it's quite as steep as a 40%, because that's almost like Six Flags style
Yeah.
discounting. That's a Six Flags style promotion.
Yeah. I think they're doing it to try to get people to come from more remote areas
Hmm.
to try to come to Orlando, but it's I don't really think that's gonna work really. But
Hmm.
nah,
Interesting.
they're trying it. We see fire. I'm like, there's fire sales going on, which makes me wonder that their bookings are way down. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens. So before I forget, one, what actually started you on your I call people their Disney journey? What got you interested in Disney and just becoming a Disney fan?
Like I said, I've just always loved it. I think when it came to Disney, it was the parks more than the movies. Even though I did love the movies, and I still remember going to see Robin Hood and Jungle Book and those at the theaters. It was the parks, and there's just, I mean, the magic. There's that intangible. There's that something there
Hmm.
that the parks do that is different than anywhere else in the world. Not to say that all the natural wonders that we have in our planet aren't amazing and whatnot, but Disneyland is its thing. And I've just always loved it there. There was something about it. I couldn't. I still can't quite put my finger on what is it for me that made me love it. That why when I go there, I still have that same giddiness. It's like I'm
Hmm.
driving on the freeway and I'm like, I gotta go. I gotta beat them. Who am I racing against? It's like I'm like I've got to get ahead of that car. Why? And so it's just there's that intangible for me, and
Hmm.
I don't know. Perhaps it's the memories of going with my family that that was you know, because both my mom and my dad, they both really did like the parks, even though they weren't, you know, big into them. They enjoyed them. So it was like, okay, so everybody's having a good time together. And maybe that's what it is I have that, you know, deep seated in my psyche. And that's kind of what I'm always trying to get back to. And that's what, you know, hearing the Mark Twain whistle or the train pulling
Mm-hmm.
into the station, those are the kind of things that trigger it and just kind of put me at ease and, you know, really make me feel like, okay, I'm safe, I'm content here. So I wish I could quantify it a little bit better, but it really is just that ethereal, magical, you know, there's just
Mm-hmm.
something there.
Yeah, I get you. It's like what I when I talk about on my channel about the reason why I put a theme park component in there is because for me, theme parks make pop culture become even more alive. It's kind of like I could say it's the physical manifestation of pop culture. I mean, when I go to Universal, whenever I see the Transformers out like live, that I freaking love that. Because I'm just like, oh my gosh, this is so cool. This is so cool. We have to go see Megatron roast somebody. Let's go and check it out, you know?
Uh-huh.
Just just that, going to Disney, riding, Peter Pan's flight, which is really, really old, but it doesn't get old because it's like you walk in there and it's like you literally remember the stories and you remember
Hmm.
seeing the movie and just every part of that particular attraction is just so cool. Even, the haunted mansion never gets old going in there looking like, oh my gosh, are those real cobwebs or is that like the dust
Right.
that they put up there and just how cool
Yeah.
that attraction is and like how did they do that? How do it's like I'm an engineer and I'm just like, no, I don't want to know. I don't I could, but that would take away the magic for me.
Right.
I don't want to know. It's like when I figured out why Test Track works the way that it does. I'm like, I could tell you why it does certain things, but that would
Hmm.
kind of spoil the magic for you. And I really don't because I felt disappointed when I figured it out. But it's like you get there and it's like it feels good to be there. Forget the crowds of people because that kind of drives
Right.
me nuts. But to be able to like walk down Main Street and you see, the cars down, down Main Street. Why some people don't understand that, after the horse goes by, why we clap for the guy with the trash can that's going behind behind the horse. I'm just like, why are you clapping for that guy? I'm like, you don't get it. You don't get
Yeah.
it. You don't get it. It's yeah, it's like I totally get it. Some people are like, why do you like going to theme parks? It's like just for, things like that. I see Daisy Duck, I still freak out because I love Daisy Duck. Brought my sister to the parks. We saw, the fairy godmother at 1900 Park Fair for one of the character meals and just like lost it because we just had to
Yeah,
take
I mean,
pictures
the
with
same
her.
thing happened to me the other day. I was doing a stream at Disneyland, and I'm walking through Galaxy's Edge, and I'm, you know, doing my usual breakdown of it, and, you know, what do I like, what do I not like, and, you know, obviously Galaxy's Edge is lacking. And as I come around the corner, who comes walking out but Boba Fett? And instantly I was 8 years
Wow.
old going, "Oh my God, there's Boba Fett, there's Boba Fett. Oh, check it out, look at that, guys, look at it, it's Boba Fett." And, you know, that's the magic. It's you see those things like you were saying, you know, with Megatron and whatever. I know it's a guy in a suit. I know it's not even the guy who has played Boba Fett. I get it,
Hmm.
but it's Boba Fett in Galaxy's Edge, you know. So I mean, in a Star Wars like, and he walks by, it's like there's just something that happens that if you allow yourself, if you can tap into that childlike moment and that
Hmm.
that 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 magic, that I keep saying magic. I feel like I'm just
No, but
huffing Dixie
it's
dust right now, but
but
it's
it's
it
true.
yeah, and we forget sometimes, you know, like it's a small world. Most people complain about that ride. And I would almost argue that that is one of the most important rides that Disney has ever done because of what it symbolizes. And if
Hmm.
you've ever ridden it with either a grandparent or a toddler, you understand why it's important. Because those two extremes, somebody
Mm-hmm.
coming into life, seeing things for the first time, and somebody looking back on their life, can look at that ride with wonderment and a smile and realize there's something here that most people are choosing to ignore. And it's that sense of humanity and camaraderie and
Mm-hmm.
celebrating our similarities, but also enjoying our differences at the same time. And to me, it's always been Walt's love letter to humanity to say, this is
Mm-hmm.
what I'm trying to get you guys to understand. If you guys would tap into that let yourself be a kid again, enjoy those things that used to bring you joy. Don't worry about what anybody else is thinking. If you want to play with the
Mm-hmm.
train, play with the train. If you want to get a dollhouse, go buy a dollhouse. Have fun. And that to me is what It's a Small World embodies. And, that it's one of the last rides that he developed
Mm-hmm.
just speaks, to me, it always has spoken that was his love letter to humanity.
Very, very well put. Very well put. And I will almost say that one of the biggest pop culture references is "It's a Small World."
Exactly.
So many people can tap into that. As a matter of fact, they've even ripped off of some of that on the Simpsons ride at
Uh-huh.
Universal because it's just that funny, you know. But man, let's see. So you have a YouTube channel. So what is your YouTube story? What got you into YouTube?
Wow. Geez, that it was a process, because when I created the whole theme park casual thing, I had the intention of, okay, I'm gonna be a YouTuber, I'm gonna do blogging, I'm do all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I started thinking, who wants to hear anything I have to say? Who am I? I'm not an insider. I've never worked for the parks. I don't have connections at the studios or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
It's just me. It's somebody who enjoyed the park since he was a kid. Big deal. There's plenty of people like that. So I kept thinking, I don't think I need to bother with it. There's no point. Nobody wants to hear it. And then um, Orange Grove 55, he DM'd me on Twitter and said, "Hey, you want to come on the channel?" And I thought, okay, I guess, sure. Why do you want to talk to me? And he was like, "Oh no, we're just hanging out. We just like to talk to other Disney
Mm-hmm.
nerds." Okay. And thanks to him, Dre, and George, they were that spark that had me decide, okay, I guess I can do this. And so I gave it a shot. And here I am. And like I said, I owe it all to Orange Grove and the guys. But yeah, I've been watching you, Culture Casino, Orange Grove, Park Hoppin', Jay, all of those guys for the last several years, and was always like, someday I'll start a channel. Someday, someday I'll start a channel. Someday. And now here I am. I'm talking to you, which is, like one of those bucket list kind of things that, when I first would watch, I was like, someday I'm gonna be on one of the lunch tables or after school special. I'm going to be on with Lorena, and here I am. And it's you talked about geeking out about being on with somebody. This is beyond what I can imagine. Even though I've been on with you a few times, I'm still like, oh my gosh, I'm on with Lorena. This is crazy when I think about it. And thanks to you, I've been introduced to so many people with your shows that I probably at least half the people I follow is because I saw them with an interview with you. So it's been amazing to sit here and, like I said, Orange Grove gave me one quick little shot. It put a bug in me, and next thing I know, I'm out at Disneyland, Knott's Berry Farm, live streaming. I've been able to sit and talk with people like you, Culture Casino, with Chris Gore, WDW Pro, Theme Park Wizard, Orange Grove, all of them. It's beyond anything I could have imagined already. and I don't even have 200 subs yet. So so hopefully there's a lot more to go.
Well, dude, you flatter me, and it's like I tell people, I'm just girl with a camera at the park. It's like, ooh, look at this. Ooh, look at this. Ooh, look at this. No, don't put your money there. Get this instead. I didn't think anybody would be interested in hearing what I had to say or anything like that on YouTube, and I got peer pressured into it. And eventually, people were kind of like, well, not eventually. Some people before I even had a channel were like, "Yeah, we want to hear what you have to say." I'm like, okay, yeah, maybe I'll get 200 subs and maybe that'll be fine. And people like, yeah, so what are you going to do when you get 1,000? What are you going to do when you get 2,000? I'm like, that's never going to freaking happen. And then it did. I'm kind of like, well, how the heck you people are still here? Okay. But it's just it's interesting. It's like different people have different voices and they'll like cue into it. Like
Mhm.
I didn't mean to spook you. I remember that one time you were live stream. I'm like, oh wow, I can actually catch somebody. Let me see what Theme Park Casual is doing. I'm like, oh, this is really cool. I'm like, hi everybody. Because I love watching your streams, like especially when you were at Disneyland for Christmas. That was a big deal because it's been years since I've been in Disneyland for Christmas. And I remember being there and just absolutely loving it. I'm like, this
Mhm.
is not as crazy crowded as Disney World. There weren't people, like I say, sea of humanity, because it's exactly what it is, sea of
Mhm.
humanity. But it was just such wonderful, wonderful memories. So I love watching, when you're streaming and you're just like, and I gotta hand it to you, theme park vloggers. I don't know how you do it. You're moving around, you're looking all over the place and
Yeah,
all of that.
I
And I'm
say it
just
every
like,
time. You
no
guys make
worries.
it look so easy, and then when you're doing it, it's just like, oh my gosh, the stress level. I mean, literally every time when I've done a live stream,
Hmm.
as soon as I'm done, I have to go find a quiet spot and like detox for like half an hour and just breathe and mellow out because my stress level is just pegged the whole time. Because I'm like, okay, got to make sure I'm watching the chat, got to make sure I'm watching where I'm walking, got to make sure where the camera's pointing, got to make sure I know where I'm going, trying to, talk to the people in the chat, answer any questions, try to be interesting, try to even just right now I'm getting winded thinking about it because it's like, oh my gosh, I probably forgot that one time. And then all these, it's just, there's so much going on that you don't realize. You think, oh, they're just walking around with a camera. How hard is it? Oh man, you have no idea. No idea.
It is a lot of work, isn't it? And I had no clue. I mean, just I'm gonna turn the camera on and I'm gonna walk around. And I want to say, I mean, you do perfectly fine. You do perfectly fine. And with being a theme park commando, that does come super in handy. I mean, you probably don't think about it, but in your mind, you're just like, okay, I need to walk here, walk here. Okay, that place is congested. I need to go over this place. This
Right.
might be going on. Let me walk over there. It's like you're already predisposed to kind of like know how to go, because like I know if I'm on Main Street USA and I turn the camera on, people are just going to be walking and stopping in the middle so they can
Yeah.
take pictures at the castle. I know Tomorrowland is already backed up, but no one's headed over, towards Frontierland or Adventureland or anything like that. It's almost like a sixth sense that you already have, but when you're live streaming, it's even more developed. So you're like at a great advantage. I mean, you pick out great stuff for people to watch. People just have fun watching you, and it's great. I see it in the comments, and like I've seen some Disney live streamers where, I mean, I'm not throwing shade on anybody, but some of them, it's kind of like the joy is gone in a way, because you're right.
Hmm.
It is very stressful in a way because people are spending their time to watch you, and you want to make sure that you're giving them, an experience that that not only are they happy watching once, but possibly come back,
Right.
and watch again. And it is a lot of work, especially if you're trying to be, and I emphasize this, courteous to other people. you
Yes,
know?
yeah, that's one of the things. It's like, what that's why I know some of the vloggers, they don't like to take the camera in lines, because you're kind of intruding on people at times. And I know I had that, especially this last week when I was at It's a Small World. The line was moving so slow, and
Hmm.
I'm not really a small talk kind of a person. So I'm
Hmm.
sitting there trying to vamp and, okay, let's talk about something. I don't know what. And then I realized, okay, the camera's just kind of panning around at people, and that's not cool. Not everybody wants to be on camera, regardless of how many people might be watching. So I'm like, okay, I got to flip the camera, and now camera is on me the whole time. And I'm okay. Now, not only do I have to be interesting, I have to look interested. And
Hmm.
it's like, oh my gosh, this is so hard. I'm an introvert. I don't like doing this. I'm completely out of my comfort zone. What do I do? What do I do? And I hope that the nervousness didn't come through too bad on camera. So,
No, why didn't you notice anything really at all? You were just having fun. And I've even seen people who do theme park vlogging a lot. Some are more interesting than others, even when they have to put the camera, on themselves. There's kind of like a spectrum of kind of like a how that happens. But yeah, I totally get it. Like when I'm out and I'm like showing you guys things, sometimes I'll notice a family behind me. Like if I'm videoing something and they're kind of like hanging, I'm like, no, you can go ahead, really. Just
I'm just gonna go and
just
stop over here. Now, what are you gonna
just
do?
yeah, I'm just filming. Go ahead. Because I guess they were like, okay, we don't want to, get in a vlogger's way.
Right,
But I'm kind of just like, I feel like I'm in your way. So if I
right,
kind of see that somebody's waiting, I kind of let them go in front. If I'm in like a theater or something like that, I will purposely try to sit in the back
right,
because I don't want people, kind of seeing the camera and everything. Because for some people, this is something that they've spent a lot of money, and this may be the only chance that they get to do something. So that's also something else to keep in mind.
right,
When you're vlogging, and I've seen you do that too. And there's people who will try to like kind of try to force their way. I look at it like this: if you get there early for a parade, that's your spot.
right.
Totally your spot. But, kind of try to be a little courteous of people like around you and not trying to swing the camera all over the place.
Right.
Things like that. There's a lot of things that go into that when you're a vlogger, and I get it, especially if you're an introvert. No one will believe me, but yes, I am. Um, when a stream is over, literally, I like to try to escape to one of the resorts and just
Hmm.
kind of a detox because it is a lot because you want to show people a lot and people want to
Hmm.
see what's going on. I mean, that popcorn cart may not seem very important to you, but there may be someone watching who's kind of like, well, I heard this one popcorn bucket is available. I wonder what it looks like, or
Right.
something like that. It's been a interesting ride. So I'll ask, you probably talked about it before, but what's been the most surprising thing that you've learned from being a theme park vlogger?
Most surprising thing. Um, Honestly, the fact that people will watch me, that that really is surprising to me, because there's so many people out there doing it, and there's some that have just a massive following, and they do it really well. That they're basically pros at it. A lot of them, that's their job. They've decided that, what, I can make enough money doing this. And so
Mhm,
they're able to pour themselves into it. I have a day job that I have to deal with. So it's, I can't right now, I can't even have a scheduled day when I'm at the parks. I can't even pick
mhm,
a day, and tell everybody, okay, every day, every week on this day, I'm going to be here at this time. I can't even do that right now. So it's very sporadic for me, which I'm trying to hopefully get into a rhythm. But yeah, just the fact that anybody would watch. In fact, the first time I did a live stream, I was at Knott's Berry Farm, and I was just practicing with the gimbal, and I thought, well, why don't I just go live, and then I'll watch it back and see what I'm doing that, I can maybe improve on, and
Mm-hmm.
I'll give it a shot. So I did that, and like within the first 10 minutes, next thing I know, JT Gunn comes on my stream. He's another YouTuber,
Mm-hmm.
and he's in the chat, and he's all, "Hey man, what's up?" And I'm like, "Oh, dude, what are you doing here? I didn't even know that anybody would find this." And then next thing I know, I've got the Rogue Attraction. He comes into the chat, and they're hanging out, and I'm just like, "Oh my God, I've got people in the chat." I was not expecting it, and I was getting flustered, and I was like, "I don't even know if the sound is working okay," because all I had was my phone. And I'm just like, I don't even know what I'm doing. I'm just walking around. And next thing I know, just a random person pops into the chat and says, "Hey, I saw you when you passed by the log ride." And they were at the park, and they went searching for
Yes.
somebody that was live streaming. And I'm just like, oh my God. So those kind of things were just shocking for me.
Mm-hmm.
But I've actually had a few people that I've found in either other chats as well that I've seen bouncing around, and they've come on my streams a couple of times. So I'm like, hey, I'm getting to know people now, and people are getting to know me, and hopefully, we'll just keep it going. And it's been an interesting few months, and it's only been a few months, which is crazy for me. It's like I've already been doing this, or only been doing this about 3 months now, and I don't know what I'm going to be doing, going forward, but I'm enjoying it, and hopefully I'll be able to, this will be my retirement plan, and I'll just fade into the sunset as a theme park vlogger.
Well, I've seen people doing that. Where they're just like, I'm retired and I'm just in, the parks every day. I mean, sometimes I'll
Hmm.
turn on YouTube in the morning and I'm like, rope drop every day. Wow, how do you do that? Oh, okay, they're retired. That
Yeah.
answers that
Yeah.
question. I'm sitting there with my work email open, like,
Hmm.
wish I could actually do that, but I can't. But to explain to people two things. One, what exactly is rope drop and why is it so important to a theme park commando?
Oh gosh, rope drop. So when you go to the theme parks, I'm most of them do it. I've seen it at Knott's Berry Farm, but they change it up here and there. Sometimes they do a rope drop where um, it's inside the park. Other times it's just they open the turnstiles at whatever the opening time is. But
Mhm.
rope drop is they allow you to go into a section of the theme park up to a certain point. Usually it's before you get to any of the big attractions, and they have ropes set up, and they hold you there. It's usually prior to the posted opening time that
Mhm.
they let you in, and they allowed you get it to go so far into the park. And then at the official opening time, they take the ropes down, and you are free to go on to the parks. And it's always been called rope drop in the sense that there was the rope up and the rope comes down. So it just got termed rope drop. And why is it important? It may seem like a crazy thing to get up so early and get to the park, but when you do the
Mhm.
rope drop for the first 2 hours, roughly, at least, usually you can even stretch it a little further than 2 hours, but the first 2 hours of any park is going to be the least busy it will be the entire day. So if you get up early and you get to the park, you can knock out usually 4, 5, 6 of the big attractions that in about, another 2 to 3 hours are going to be impossible to do in the entire rest of the day. You would not be able to do all those 6 rides again because the lines will start getting so long, and it's going to be, so time consuming that the rides you just plowed through in less than 2 hours would now take probably 6 to 7 hours to complete, possibly more. So getting there at rope drop, you allow yourself to be able to hit the big attractions quickly with minimal weight.
And that's it, folks. That's usually why your girl is there right around rope drop time at Magic Kingdom, basically all the parks. If I'm there in the evening, it's because, I just want to kick back and show you guys stuff that's that's in the evening. And
Exactly.
I'm not really trying to get on any big attractions, but I'm trying to show the big attractions possibly. I'm there at rope drop, and that's exactly
Yeah.
why.
And me, I love getting up early. And so rope drop is, it's that fun time for me. I'm wide awake early in the morning. I'm ready to go. Love walking around, the theme parks in the cool of the morning. I don't know. Personally, I don't know why anybody wouldn't want to do rope drop, but that's just me.
Well, I am not a morning person. I am cranky as I don't know what, but what makes me even crankier is waiting 3 hours to get onto something. So I'm just like, okay, I'm up. Where's the coffee? That's all
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
want.
Definitely got to have the coffee, but
That
yeah,
is all I want to know. I'm just like, where's the coffee cart? Okay, I got it. All right, we can go. We can go. We're good. Because I remember when I stayed at the Polynesian one time, I'm like, oh man, well actually a couple of times, I'm like, all right, I need to get my coffee. Then I can get a monorail. Then we can go. I'll be fine. I just need, I just need coffee. That's why I know where I don't go into Starbucks. I know where all the Joffrey's coffee carts are, so I can get my coffee and get there. I'm just like, I'm not a morning person, but for rope drop, I will pretend to be one. Totally, totally. I will totally pretend to be one. So my last question for you, if there's folks out there who want to become quote unquote theme park commandos, what advice would you give them?
Just dig into the research. That's really what happens. That helps everybody is looking at what other people have done. Like you were saying, the unofficial guide, way back when, pre-internet days, yeah, you'd have to buy a book and read through the book. Now there's tips and tricks from every single theme park, and
Mm-hmm.
find those tips and tricks that make sense to you. Sometimes some people it's do the rope drop, other people it's nah, why don't you skip a parade and hit those
Mm-hmm.
bigger rides. Sometimes you can nail them at just the right time, when there's a parade or the fireworks going on, if that's not your thing. So there's all sorts of different angles to take. And then the other thing, you just got to get in there and do it. It's one of those things where you've got boots on the ground has to happen, otherwise you're
Mm-hmm.
not going to learn anything. So if you can get in there and go multiple times and really start to analyze things, you keep, and that's, oh geez, I guess that's the other thing, you've got to be paying attention when you're at the parks. Watch where the
Mm-hmm.
crowds are going, pay attention to if you're in a crowd, notice the time, notice where you're at, try to look at the entertainment schedule. What happened right now? Why is there a crowd? Is there a reason
Mm-hmm.
for this? And then you can start to say, oh yeah, we don't want to go over there because that's going to get out in about 10 minutes and it's going to get flooded, so we're going to go over to this side of the park, those kind of things. But, we could do a master class on this because there's so much to it, but if you're trying to be a theme park commando, it's going to be a lot of work. Just know that.
Yeah, but it's worth it.
Oh, it's so fun. It is so fun.
And I so can't wait for us to have streams in the future where we actually start showing you guys some of these tips and tricks how you can become a theme park commander. Because trust me, not only is it worthwhile, but eventually other people will start asking you questions, and you have the tried and true answer to tell folks. So
Mm-hmm.
folks, First of all, I want to thank Theme Park Casual so much for hanging out with me and, and interviewing and picking his brain because I love running into other people who are theme park commandos so I don't feel isolated. And I'm not completely crazy. There are other people like me who do this stuff and love talking to people who are up and coming streamers, especially in the theme park scene. He's doing great stuff out there on the West Coast. If you're a little bit curious about the parks out there or just want to watch a great theme park stream in general, Theme Park Casual is the guy to check out. So folks, please do subscribe to him. Not only just subscribe to him, but you can also follow him on Twitter as well. And we'll have links to both in the description box. And you got merch. I need to work on my merch. I'm crazy about my merch, but you got your merch store up here. This is awesome, amazing stuff. So why don't you tell people what it is that you have coming up on your channel to let folks know about?
Well, I'm planning to get back to Disneyland and Knott's Berry Farm at least one more time each for the holidays. After that, the big thing is I do have my reservation for January 27th, which is the opening of Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway here in Disneyland.
You're going to love that attraction. It's
I know. I am looking. Honestly, I am more excited for that than I was for Rise of the Resistance. I am so excited. This one looks so adorable, so cool. So I will be there. I am going to do my best to get on that ride on the 27th. I don't know. We don't know yet how they're going to allow us to queue up, if it's going to be boarding passes, virtual queue, who knows what. But I will probably be out there. I will probably possibly see what they're allowing, because usually on the big events like that, they allow you to queue up at like maybe 2 a.m. and I will possibly be there out there at 2 a.m. because
wow,
this one's a big one for me. I've been dying to get on this ride for a couple of years now since it premiered in Hollywood Studios. So that one's the big one for me. I'm gonna be really cutting my teeth as a vlogger on that one. So pray for me.
I will, and I'm looking forward to checking that out, because that attraction, it's so Disney. I know some people have issues with the screens, but I'm like, the screens make sense. I'll put it to you like that. It makes sense if you love like the 1930s, 1940s hand-drawn Disney animation. I'll just say, if you've ever seen the animated short, I think it's The Band. Was it The Band, or was it
the band concert?
Yeah, The Band Concert. I'm just going to put that out there.
Yeah. And I love the new Mickey shorts. I think they were spectacular. I know some people don't like that style. When we saw them, I was like, these are gold.
Yeah, so it's like they're not the original. It's like it's not the Steamboat Willie style. It's like I kind of got over that. It was a little jarring in the beginning, but it was fun to watch. My nieces and nephews thought it was hilarious.
Oh yeah,
they loved it, watching it just like over and over again. Dude, I'm so excited for you to get a chance to ride that attraction. I will definitely be popping into that stream for real.
yeah. That one, like I said, I'm looking forward to it. I don't know what it's going to entail. Like I said, if I have to be out there at 2 a.m., I will be doing it. But yeah, I'm intent on streaming that opening. And I think that it's the kickoff of the Disney 100 as well. So who knows what else they may be having that day.
Oh, man, that is going to be a killer time. Man, well, folks, you need to be subscribed to Theme Park Casual like yesterday, so you can get in on the bottom floor when he checks this out, especially with the 100th anniversary for Disney. That's I'm so jealous in a way. You're out there.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like I
All
said,
that going
this
on.
is so much fun. This one's the big one that I'm looking forward to, and I'm hoping that you guys can, you and Culture Casino and Rogue Attraction, um, hopefully someday you guys can be out here in Southern California. We can hit some of the parks.
Yeah, like I said, I miss Disneyland, and I'm trying to get back. So I will definitely let you know because granted, I love my Cinderella Castle. I do always be my favorite, but Sleeping Beauty Castle, beautiful.
Yeah.
Absolutely beautiful. Well, folks, thanks so much, Theme Park Casual, for being here with me, hanging out with me. Thanks to all of you for watching this interview with Theme Park Casual. Please do make sure you are subscribed to him, that you're following him on Twitter, and not only that, but watching his videos and recommending his channel to other folks. And we will see you next time. Bye.